of all, thank you for joining us. I'm Kay Moore, the principal, for those of you who don't know me. I have a team here at Pineview, in addition to your child's teacher, to support you in distance learning. Erin Greco is our learning design, our IB coordinator. Erin is up on the, you're on a wave so they know which one is you.
Sure, I'm sharing my screen so I don't know if you can see me.
Harris is our learning design coach. And Mrs. Reynolds is our assistant principal. Right now, Mrs. Harris is supporting K1-2, and Mrs. Greco is helping the teachers in 3-4-5. So I wanted to, in my role as the school principal in online learning, is that we treat online learning as students in our school. They just happen to be in your home. And so, my role is to really support you in making sure that the learning environment is as conducive to learning as possible. And so we have that continuity and levels of support that you need. So today we're going to talk a lot about the supports, the technology, grading, and a lot of testing that is coming up. And with that, if there's any questions.
Yes, if there's any questions, if you'll type them into the chat box, Ms. Reynolds is monitoring the chat box. If you previously submitted a question on our Google form, we have made sure that either that was an agenda item that we were planning on talking about, and so your question would be answered there, or we inserted your question throughout the presentation, our Q&A here. And then obviously if you have questions at the end, we'll take them. So after kind of each agenda item though, we do have a spot for questions.
You're going to hear from me just a little bit here at the beginning, and then I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleagues here. First of all, I want to say that mySchool Online was designed by the school district to be in compliance with the state's reopening plan, and it had to be approved by the state of Florida. So based on the reopening plan, we don't have a lot of flexibility with mySchool Online. I know there's a lot of questions about the size of the classrooms. And right now I'm working out those bugs. We do not have additional allocations for those. But for example, if I were to take a teacher from the building and make them online, that would put my classes here in the school at 30. So you can see my struggle. We are also considering maybe some instructional assistants possibly helping, but they don't necessarily have the ability to just jump in on Zooms at a scheduled time, or when we can't really anticipate when kids might have needs. So be patient, we are working out those bugs. So again, it was created by the school district. We are doing the exact same curriculum at school, at home, and in Florida virtual. This is a curriculum that my teachers are just learning. They're learning alongside you. So they're trying to stay 2 steps ahead of you and learning this new curriculum so that they can present it in a way that students can learn online. I'm gonna be right up front. It's not easy to teach via a camera. You can't see when a child has that look on their face. You can't see when what they've written on their paper to say, oh, go, you know, and as they walk around and prompt children to respond differently. So there are some limitations to online, and that is why you're seeing as a parent in K1-2 especially, that you're probably spending a lot of time supporting your child and being the eyes that we can't be here at school. We don't have the flexibility to alter the curriculum. We can't change the pacing. We can't change the layout buttons. These are things that are designed by Florida Virtual that the state is saying we must follow. Our district is saying we must follow. So at Pineview, we don't have the option to change anything. However, we did have some options to try to make it a little easier for you, in that we created home rooms and canvases. So if you go to My Learning into Canvas, we reorganized it into weekly so that you can see what your child needs to do on a weekly basis. So thank you for creating the homepage for us. Support for instruction. One of the biggest things we're noticing, and a lot of the calls I get from parents that are troubled a little bit, is the pace, and it's hard for the teacher via Zoom to address so many of the needs of what's happening out there virtually. Like I said, they can't go stand by the student and say, come on, feet on the floor, sit up straight. So we really need parent support when we talk about what does a classroom environment look like. Remember, we're trying to mimic identically what happens at school and what happens at home, because we want that seamless transition back and forth. When you're ready to say, I want my child back in the traditional environment, we want your child to be ready and have practice doing the things we expect of them in school. So, for example, we do expect they follow that daily routine, follow the schedule. They're sitting in a chair, they're sitting upright, they're not leaning back, they're not, all over the place, that their materials are right at their desk like they would be at school, that they don't have distractions. For example, there's no TV on, there's no toys in the room that they might go play with. We want to really reduce the distractions so that, because we don't have those here in the school environment, that they can just get up and play, or they can get up and pet their dog. Although sometimes you can't avoid dogs coming and trying to give you emotional support while you're doing your schoolwork. So that might even be considered therapy. But again, just eliminating the distractions. And then eating in a proper attire. We don't expect kids to come in their pajamas. We don't expect them to be eating while they're in class. We don't do that in class at school. We'd ask that you not do that here. It's distracting for the teacher when she looks out and the students don't seem to be participating in what she's doing, because then she has to stop and redirect, and there's 20 other kids waiting. So your help and that support, I know it's an extra burden for you as parents, but we really do recognize that we do need your support. You have to be our eyes and our hands and our soul out there in your home. The question that we had in the pink, the biggest question we had is packets, because parents can't get hold of the material. So your online teacher does meet weekly with the classroom teachers. They're to plan the exact same things and replicate the lessons exactly. So we are trying to we recognize that it's a barrier for some families. They might not have printers or can't get things copied. So they will be putting together packets, and we will develop a pickup system so you can get it would probably, we're hopefully trying to get things for a 2-week period, so you can come and pick those up, and those details will be coming soon. Can anybody add, have I missed anything, any teachers or coaches that might want to add to that I may have missed?
I just wanted to add too that if parents have questions and things during instruction, it needs to be similar to if your student was in the traditional classroom. You can email the teacher to respond during her planning time. But if you're helping your child behind the scenes, that's great. But it's really important that you're not, and it's hard because as a parent, we want to make sure our kids getting what they need at the moment, but you need to either put a question in the chat for the teacher or send an email, but they're not able to answer their Google Voice phone numbers during lessons. They're not able to necessarily respond to emails during lessons, just like the teacher in the brick and mortar building wouldn't be able to do those things as well.
Thank you. That's a very good point. I would ask too that our goal today is to give you some tips so that your child is a little more independent on the technology, so that you can back off and release it to the teacher, and let us do our work with them via Zoom. I know a lot of them are needing your support right now, but our ultimate goal is to help them just know the technology well enough that they won't have any need for you to be with them constantly. That is one of the biggest concerns I hear. So right now it seems like a lot, and we appreciate you very, very much. And we're going to go then, that segues right into technology, where we want to talk about some troubleshooting we could do.
Ms. Reynolds, are there any questions in the chat box that we need to address at this time?
No, there are not.
Good morning. We just wanted to really thank you all for your patience with technology. We know that it is a struggle. It is not anything, some of the issues that we're having, it's nothing that we could have foreseen, you know, leading up into this. And we don't have a tech department per se. We have district support people that come out about once a week. But as far as technology support, Ms. Greco and myself are it for school. And that's two people for lots and lots and lots of you, but we really do appreciate your patience and support with that. That being said, we really could use your help helping your children learn how to log in to their MyPassCode Connect with their lunch number and their funky password. I know it might seem daunting at first, especially with the little ones, but I promise you they will get it the more and more you practice, and you'll see like in a month or so, it won't be as daunting for you as it is right now. And then also helping them to log on and access Zoom so that they can not only have their Zoom open and be ready on time with their teachers for the start of the day when they're coming back from specials and lunch and recess, but also being able to help them split their screen so they can have Zoom open and also anything instructional things their teacher needs them to have up double. And if you're not sure how to do that yourself, we are going to offer some technology support for you all in workshop style via Zoom. And we're going to talk to you about that in a minute. We do need your kiddos to have their camera on during the day when they're in the classroom. I've talked to kiddos too, letting them know, like having your camera off, if you were in the classroom, that would be equivalent to you leaving the room, and that's not safe. And we need to be able to see their faces and being able to hold up their work and things like that so that we know that they're present and paying attention in class. And then also teaching them how to upload assignments. Again, I know it may seem daunting at first, but if they can work your phone, they can work any of the technology that we have here. It just takes practice. And I promise you by, soon they'll know it better than you and be able to teach you. We do have a poll to ask you about what, if you're interested in getting support for Zoom, either just about Zoom or having a recorded lesson. You'll see it up here on your screen. If you can take a moment to answer those questions, if you're interested in that, and then your preferred method of delivery, if you'd like to join us on Zoom or a recorded lesson. While people are finishing, it does say to keep on the microphone during Zooms. The teachers do have capability to mute the students themselves. And then I've been in classrooms where the kids know how to unmute themselves when it's their turn to talk, but ensuring that when the teacher's talking, that definitely the microphone's off, not only so we can, the kids can focus, but any background noise also is turned off. And then also to just let you know, Ms. Greco is sharing her screen right now, so she cannot see all the participants, and that's what your teacher is seeing too. So when they're sharing the screen, you can only see 4 children at a time unless you're continually scrolling. So to be able to teach and keep scrolling to the kids, just knowing that your child may not be seen the entire time when the teacher is sharing their screen. It looks like I think 67% of our people have voted. So I'll take one more moment to vote. And Ms. Reynolds, I do see that there is a question in the chat.
Yeah, so the question is, first of all, it's a compliment, which we appreciate. We know that everyone has been working hard. Our teachers have been amazing, trying to keep up with it all. The one suggestion is, could parents receive a detailed list of homework items needing uploaded to Canvas, etc., just as they're given a detailed schedule of activities each day? They found that the 3rd grader is writing things down, but it's difficult for the parents to then understand what is needed.
So I know I've been working with my grade levels, and I know Ms. Harris has been working with hers on sort of like a weekly overview that would have a section for assignments that need to be uploaded or what assessments are going to be given that week. So we're kind of looking at some stuff that was used during Q4 and working with the online teachers directly to to modify or revise what we used in Q4 to be able to create something similar to that. So that is definitely something in the works that we are working on to be able to be able to look at that and provide that information.
The next piece is that uploading assignments requires pictures and navigating a list on the modules when a student can't read. We're talking about our younger students. On the homepage, there we are adding to the specials dates and times on the homepage. So by the link for the subject area, so if it's Spanish, it'll say Wednesdays, 3 p.m. with the Zoom link there. We're looking at how we can make that transition to specials a little easier. So know that there might be a shift in the next couple of weeks where we're trying to use one link for the entire day, specials and everything, but we're working on that. So don't count on that right this minute. That's something we're working on trying to get together to roll out. And we are not able to record the student classes because then we are recording students, and not all families have, given consent for their child to be photographed and recorded. So we're not able to do that. So if a student is absent, they can follow along in the Canvas course to do missing work. And it's not possible to just record the teacher because the Zoom records everything it sees on the screen.
There was one more comment about kids who can't read and being the little ones and not being able to access that. I am working on trying to adjust home pages for specials and for your grade level content to be more picture oriented. The only thing is that it's just going to require some support on your end. And then also with uploading assignments, you're going to get, where Ms. Greco and I are working on videos and how-to pages with pictures to help support that. And it'll be on a Padlet and we'll send that out soon.
Yeah, our goal is to have it to you by Tuesday. There's no school on Monday. So our goal is to get it wrapped up this week, and you would have it, and it would be emailed to you by your child's teacher, but also we'll make an announcement on the online classes pages as well with the link. And it'll have all of the how-tos, this PowerPoint from today. We'll just kind of use it as a one-stop shop for parent needs. All right.
And some of the stuff we've already talked about support during instruction. Any help that you can give your child logging into my Passcode Connect and to Canvas and then connecting to Zoom. I highly encourage you to kind of just take like a passenger seat on that and let them try. I know I'm a mom too, that it can be difficult, just got to get it on so I can, do my thing too, or you have multiple kiddos. But the more independent you make them, the easier it's going to be on you. Also, like I said, teaching them to exit their full screen. You could do that right now. If Ms. Greco is sharing her screen, but if you scroll up to the top of your screen and then just slide your cursor down a little bit, a menu bar will pop up that says view options. And if you click on that, a drop-down menu will come that says exit full screen. And then you'll be able to see Ms. Greco's screen and then whatever you have in the background on your desktop. Again, we'll be sending out videos and how-to sheets on how to do that as well. Helping your kids follow a schedule, especially when they have to log off and go to lunch and recess and then come back on, whether that's posted or you're setting a timer or something like that. So they are joining back the class on time and they're not missing any content. Like I said, encouraging them to be independent and following teacher directions. It is very difficult when you can't be physically present next to kiddos because that proximity really helps stay engaged and on task. It's way difficult on the Zoom platform. Did I miss anything else, ladies?
There have been some problems logging into my Passcode Connect this morning. That has been a district-wide issue. Just so you know, we at school, we use my Passcode Connect as well for all of our things. We've been struggling as well. Some days it's a matter of like, we're gonna have to quit out and go back in. Sometimes it's just repeatedly trying. So I'm sorry, like that is a district-wide issue that we've all been struggling with. And it's saying the password is not correct. So I'm not sure, ladies, do you know?
So if it's saying that the password's not correct or the username, if you're trying to sign in, usually it's something where maybe it just needs to be completely deleted, quit Chrome and restart again, and re-sign in. Or sometimes there might just be an extra space that you're not noticing, and then that would cause it to not work. You can email either myself or Miss Harris, or I believe the chat has the setting for it to be able to privately message somebody. So privately chat. So if you wanted to privately chat to Miss Reynolds and let us know your student's name, we can sign in as that student on our side and double check later after this is over to see if there's any issues.
And the next thing was about that for this first 2 weeks, they've noticed that it's been primarily like English language arts, writing, math, and not as much of the science and social studies. And their question is, do they need to go back and complete the things in the Canvas course if it hasn't been covered in class?
No, so the pacing for reading and writing and math versus the pacing for social studies and science is very different. So in some instances, in some grade levels, you maybe have one science studio board in 3 through 5, and a piece of it is covered each day. Same thing for social studies. You maybe have one lesson that is meant to take, either 2 days throughout the week, or little parts of it are stretched out throughout the week. So there's definitely more content to cover when it comes to reading, writing, and math than there is in social studies and science. So if the teacher is not presenting something, it might be because it's coming later in the day. Sometimes there's because of timing. Sometimes they alternate between doing some science one day and social studies the next. So if the teacher's not asking you to go back and do anything, then you're not required to go back and do anything. The teacher is releasing the pacing as they need to.
And that being said too, our district worked really hard in taking the Florida virtual content and sort of melding it together so things went together, like the science and social studies units went with what we were teaching in ELA, so that it may seem like we're doing a reading lesson because they're being read to some kind of content, but the content that's being read is science or social studies. And that's what we try to do here in the building as well, being an IB school, is having transdisciplinary units where everything sort of melts together, so it kind of makes sense.
And then another question had to do with the PE courses, I think the specials courses in general, and that when it's during specials time and it's reading and it might be beyond a student's reading level that it's difficult, we do not have the ability to modify the curriculum, but we will absolutely send that feedback to district that we're receiving that from you so that they get it. Because we are not able to alter the curriculum. Remember that the PE teachers are also coming online, all the special teachers with the classes once a week to do the Zooms, but I would just, we're not able to modify that.
The curriculum is really designed to have lots of activities built in case you're like, I don't know what to do to make these kiddos or my kiddo get up and be active. So there's lots of like jumping around or doing activities, while I know it is a lot of reading, but the activity parts in it are really good.
Anything else in the question?
Yes, there's a question about being in a breakout room and being able to message the teacher. There should be a help button at the bottom that says ask for help. And if you push that, it'll alert the host of the teacher that who the person is asking and what room they're in, and it'll pop up as a window that they can go and join that room. So that is a possibility.
Anything else?
The next thing was, can we have the lessons and assignments listed in the module by date, not just, oh, it's moving quicker than I can read, sorry.
No, so the pacing is determined. So the lessons that are built into the Canvas course are not day specific. So based on the teacher's schedule and how the students are responding to instruction, the teacher is altering the pacing. So there's no way, like you might have a reading lesson that is assigned for the week on the pacing from the district, and then the teacher is deciding what what parts of the lesson to do on which day, and they're deciding that with their team in order to stay as close in continuity as possible. So it is not possible for them to label all of the assignments and lessons by day, because they are pacing the class based on how students are responding to instruction. So we did try to at least make it by week, because that was not the original design that the district had provided. They just kind of had everything lumped together in different courses and different subjects. So we at least tried to make everything sit into 1 week in hopes of like you being able to at least look at a week's perspective, but it is not possible to label it by day.
There was a question about grading, gradebook. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So I think if we move on, and then we can see if some of the questions are going to be answered. And remember that we have pauses throughout the entire presentation to continue asking, and we will, and I'm going to, we'll archive the chat at the end, so that way we make sure that we go through all the questions again, that we've answered everything. So we'll try to.
Right, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about grading, because Canvas grading is very different than how we would grade naturally in elementary. So elementary grading practices, we look at growth over time, and that also includes like work habits and students' ability to be working independently and participating in classroom discussions. The Canvas format uses an average. It does not use a growth over time model. So when you're looking at the grades in Canvas, and I know like on the home page of the student's screen, a lot of times right over to the right-hand side, there's a little button and it shows like a student's percentage. Just please know that that is not actually the child's grade. So there's a little bit behind that. First of all, that percentage, like I said, we don't average grades, we look at growth over time, but that average that's showing is only showing the graded assignments that are graded by Canvas, the system, that have been completed. So for example, if your child had a missing assignment, it would not be factored into that average grade that's sitting there. That's one of the reasons why we don't use that grade. The teachers are looking at how your student is responding to the standards that are being taught, and they're looking over a progression of weeks. So we know that students don't master something the first time they come in contact with it, especially in the elementary world. And the pacing in Florida Virtual School is very quick with these mini quizzes that are placed into the courses. So those quizzes aren't really the format of what you would typically associate the concept of a quiz, which would be something more summative, like how did they do after they learned this? These quizzes are really temperature checks for the teacher, almost like they use the exit tickets in math. They're just using them to see, okay, we just taught this, in 1 or 2 days. Now let me just see who's kind of caught on already and where my instruction needs to go from here. So the grades in Canvas, we need you to be looking at them with a very cautionary lens, and know that those grading practices that are coming up in Canvas are not how we grade in elementary school. And the feedback that teachers are giving on assignments is because they are not physically near your student to be able to give that feedback that would be coming automatic if they were in the classroom. Because as teachers would walk around in the classroom, they would be giving your child immediate feedback. So when students are submitting assignments onto Canvas, they don't want to lose the ability to give your child feedback, but in no way are they insinuating that the child would need to go and redo an assignment, or that possibly their assignment isn't of good quality or good value. They're just wanting your child to know some things that they have noticed in that feedback process. So the grading for our online teachers is also a new piece, because they're trying to match how we typically grade in the classroom setting in the traditional brick and mortar, and kind of circumvent how Canvas is automatically grading with some of the built-in pre-graded Canvas courses. So I'm not sure if that created some more questions, Mary.
I think we're good.
Okay. So the next big thing that we wanted to talk to you about is a new testing that is a digital-based assessment that is going to occur 3 times a year in grades K through 5. And we wanted to take the time to address this with all of you, because there's definitely some information that you're going to need to know since your child is a mySchool online child. So the first thing we wanted to just mention to you is this assessment. It's called the NWEA assessment, or also known as the MAP assessment. So it's a growth model assessment where it's looking at how your child, to the depth of their knowledge in different subject areas, and the information that's gathered from these assessments is meant to provide the teacher with information on where their learning should go next. So because of that, this assessment is considered an adaptive assessment. This is very different than the assessments that students are used to taking. An adaptive assessment adapts to how the student is taking the test. So for example, if a student is answering questions correctly, the test will increase in difficulty. If the student is answering questions incorrectly, it will reduce in difficulty. No student gets a perfect score on this assessment. There is no 100% on this assessment because it is a growth assessment that is given at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. So in grades K through 5, all K through 5 classes take both a reading assessment and a math assessment. Grades 3 through 5 also take science. So your child will need to be taking this assessment at home, and it will be monitored by the mySchool online teacher. So a couple of things we need you to know about this assessment. The first one is what's up on your screen in green. One of the tech problems that is coming up from other schools that have started the process of testing their online students at home is that the devices that you are using do not allow the pop-up of the test to launch. So one of the help guides that you're going to be receiving is how to enable the pop-ups, to allow the pop-ups to happen on your device. Now, we don't know exactly every device that's being used at home. So you may have to Google your specific device to see how to turn this on, but we need you to allow the pop-ups to happen on the device in order for the test to work. And we need you to do this prior to the teacher needing to test the students. Because if this is on, this is going to cause the testing time to be slowed because the teacher would be providing tech support to get this situation resolved instead of being able to start the test. So if you can do this for us, and if you need help, again, we're going to send you a help guide of different ways, different browsers you might be using on how to find this feature, but we really need your help in doing this prior to when your child's teacher will be testing. Your child's teacher will let you know ahead of time what days they plan on testing. On those days, we really need your child to be in the least distracted environment within your house. And know that these assessments could take up to an hour each. Because it's adaptive, there's no way of knowing how many questions your child's going to be receiving. During that time, what the teacher has on their screen and what your child's going to have to do is your child's going to have the split screen, the 2 screens, because they have to be on Zoom for the teacher to be monitoring for security, that they're not receiving any help during the assessment to answer the questions. You can help them with the tech support, but we can't have you helping with the test questions. And K through 1 families, the test will read the test to them automatically, so you don't need to worry about that. The other thing that your child will have to have up on the other side of the screen is the assessment, so that they're answering the assessment while the teacher is able to see them on Zoom. The teacher also has to have split screen because the teacher has to have the teacher dashboard up to be monitoring the students to make sure, because we can see as they're answering questions. And then they also need to have their Zoom screen up as well. Your classroom teachers, the teachers that your children have, will be going through this information with them further, and you will be receiving help guides, but we wanted to forewarn you that this is coming. The testing window closes on the 15th, so more than likely your students will be testing next week. So we
I
wanted
just
to
want
kind of
to
give,
add that this is a nationwide assessment. This assessment has allowed us to provide online learning, and it is tied, giving this assessment is tied to our state funding. It's not optional. It's not, it's something to help us determine our success in providing solid instruction for your students and the students here at school. Again, it is given, it's being given now, it's a national recognized test.
and it is the assessment that is being given district-wide this year. Previously, we had quarterly assessments that your child took. This is replacing that. If you are a parent of somebody who has an IEP and they receive accommodations like text-to-speech or auditory presentation, those accommodations would be turned on for your child. So even in your home, they would be receiving those same that same accommodation. We do have some additional information. Kindergarten families, if you're a parent of a kindergartner, we are going to be asking you to stay on in a few minutes longer than everybody else, because we do have some specific information that only applies to kindergarten that we want to be able to share with you. Any questions about this assessment?
I think the questions that were in the chat you answered. This is new this year. Your teacher will be notifying you. It'll be sometime in the next, probably next week is when the majority of them will be. Is that correct, Mrs. Greco?
Yes, because the online teachers wanted to wait until after today to make you all aware of this assessment and for us to be able to give you the help guides. So we're working with the online teachers to get their schedule so that way we can try to be, you know, available as much as we can through a screen to provide tech support as well.
We have completed this. Most of our classrooms have completed it already at school. So we have learned from the kids that have taken it here. That's why we can say it might take an hour or more for some kids. And some kids are frustrated. Some kids don't, when they can't get an answer right away, they get nervous and scared and get upset. We're asking you to that's okay. Because it's the information we use to monitor and provide additional instruction for students that might need it. The assessment is our way of knowing what kids know and don't know so we can support them. It's not for a grade.
And just keep reiterating to your children that there is no 100% on this. So, and these assessments, the children are taking them in grade level bands. So it's not a grade specific assessment as well. So K1 takes a K through 2 banded test because it has to be able to adapt and have room for adapting as kids are performing, whether they're answering questions correctly or incorrectly. And then our 2 through 5 grade levels, they're taking a 2 through 5 band in reading. Again, because you need to have that room for adaptation. So that's why it's not, this is, the frustration comes in because they get frustrated that they don't know the answer. And in the building, we keep reminding them, you're not going to know the answer. You're going to get questions that are difficult. Just do your best to eliminate wrong answers. Do your best to just take the best guess you can. It's okay to get questions wrong on this. We want you to do your best, but we don't expect you to know every answer. And this is a very different type of test. That's not the norm for the assessments that are given in the building.
Someone has asked, when is the next opportunity to enroll your student in campus classes if they are struggling online learning environment? We know that every family is a little different. Of course, the recommendation always is at the maybe progress reports or at the quarter or the semester. However, if you call the school office and you would like to make a change, I know especially our K-1-2 families, it's very difficult because it's a very heavy burden on families. Please ask to talk to myself or Mrs. Reynolds, and we can enroll and start the next day given certain situations and class sizes. So please don't hesitate to call us if you're feeling frustrated with the online. That is just not, I know the biggest thing parents say to us, I feel so guilty, I can't do this because I have to work and I can't monitor and I can't help them. Please know we are here for you. We have put in a lot of safety precautions here at school, and just call, we can make switches.
So the next slide just had some additional questions that I think we ended up answering anyway, but these questions were submitted, so I just wanted to make sure that they were answered. We did speak about the pacing. So are kids allowed to move ahead in the week in the modules? Again, the answer to that question is no, simply because this is not like Q4 where students could work at their own pace. They are required to stay at the pace the teacher sets for them. And we know that some of your children could work at a faster pace, but please know that we're still in that getting to know you stage, and our teachers are still getting to know your children and where their strengths lie. And so once they have a better understanding of the child as a whole, then you will begin to see some differentiation in that instruction. You will begin to see some opportunities where some students maybe could move at a little bit of a faster pace. But again, that teacher is still monitoring that pace. There is not just where we're going to release all the work and then your child can just move ahead. The curriculum, Ms. Moore mentioned it at the beginning. The curriculum is exactly the same as it is in the building, and that is meant to keep continuity. So that way the teachers all plan together. So all of our online teachers plan with their traditional counterparts and are in constant communication and trying to keep on pace with each other. So that way, if we have students who move from traditional to online or online to traditional, it's as seamless as it can possibly be. And then as Ms. Harris said, if you're trying to contact the teacher during the school day or lesson, and for example, you can't even get into the Zoom to put something into the chat box because your tech issue is the Zoom, or we ask that you try to email or maybe send a text to their Google Voice number, but just understand, like, when they're sharing their screen, they're limited on what they can see. And then if they're in the middle of instruction, they might not respond so quickly to a Google text, a phone call, or an email because they're in the middle of instructing. So again, we understand that, like, you want to let the teacher know, hey, we can't get into your Zoom, but depending on what they're doing in that moment, they may not be able to respond to that right away. Any other questions? Because at this point, we just need after this, if there's no additional questions, we just need the kindergarten families to stay. I'm not hearing Ms. Reynolds or Ms. Harris, so there's no questions?
No questions.
Okay. So we thank you so much for coming. Like I said, you will be receiving an email from your online teacher, as well as we'll make an announcement on the homepage of this resource, as well as the how-tos and the links to the Padlets. Please just give us a few days to finalize everything. We're trying to make videos. We're trying to do how-to sheets for all the needs that are coming up. So our goal is to get it to you by Tuesday. Your online teachers will be reaching out as far as the MAP schedule goes for testing, so that you're aware of when your child will be doing that assessment. And I have already sent them the guides for removing the pop-up or enabling the pop-up blockers. So they have that document already and are ready to share that with you. You don't have to wait for Tuesday on that. If you are a kindergarten parent, if you could please stay on. We have 2 more things we want to specifically tell you since you're a kindergarten family. Everyone else, we thank you so much for joining us. We hope this was helpful and beneficial. If so, we plan to kind of continue this in order to support. And you could just hit the red, if you're not a kindergarten family, you can just hit the little leave meeting button at the bottom. Otherwise, you're free to listen to the kindergarten information if you really want to.
All right, kindergarten families, yay! New world of kindergarten and online, lucky you. You guys are doing a great job learning along with us in this great new world of online learning. Ms. Greco was talking to you all about the MAP testing that we're doing, and everything that she said holds true for kindergarten as well, with the exception of we're going to give you guys the option to come in to the building and have your children tested, because it is a login process for the kiddos, and just a process in itself, and understanding that it is a progressive test and there could be questions that they don't know. I will say the first grade classes that are doing it now are handling it like champs. We've had very little tears. They just like, I don't know this, and do the best you can, baby, move on, and they do it. So we're offering you all to come into the building as an option 2 mornings, next Friday, September 11th from 10:30 to 11:50, and then Monday, September 14th from 10:30 to 11.
And these you would have to come to both. These are not like you can choose, because kindergarten has 2 subject areas, both reading and math. So one day would be for the reading assessment and the other day would be for the math assessment. So this isn't an option of which day works best for you. You would, if you're choosing to come in, you would come to both. If you choose to test your child at home, Ms. Beck would still be running the online testing. We are just offering this as an option.
And if they do come into the building, they are going to need their own headphones, because the test reads to them the entire time. And because it's adaptive, no kiddo is getting the same question at the same time. So we can't bounce around and read questions to them. Once it is read to them, if they don't understand, we do clarify for them or repeat it so they understand.
They would also need to be wearing a mask, and we would keep them socially distant from other children. We would be taking them into small groups and spread them out into different spaces here in the media center, and trying to keep all that. And then as soon as they were done testing, we created these blocks of time anticipating the length of the test and the time needed to log in. But as your child was finishing, we would be calling you to have you come back and pick them up, with the idea that everyone would be done by their typical lunchtime. And then you would have that ability to go home for a lunch, recess, and then you'd start back up in the second half of the day with Ms. Beck. You will be receiving an email with a link to a Google form to RSVP of if you're going to choose to have your child come in, so that way we can plan accordingly for spacing and number of adults needed to test the students. So you should be you will be receiving that. If not today, you'll receive it tomorrow. We'll send the email link to Ms. Beck, and Ms. Beck will email that out to all of the families. Any questions in the chat box on the kindergarten testing?
I think Ms. Moore handled the one question that was there.
Okay. So then the last thing for kindergarten is Flickers. So Flickers is a mandatory state kindergarten readiness test. It is required by the state. The data is for the state purposes only. They use the data to assess the pre-K programs within the state. This is a mandatory assessment, and this assessment, the online students are required to come in to take it. We are not offering it as an option. They are required. There is no online testing of Flickers. It will only occur in the building. So this is a very quick assessment though. It is very, very quick. It is somewhat adaptive, again, in the sense of like it will get harder as the kids do better. We do it on iPads, so the kids just touch pictures, it reads it to them. Usually each child takes maybe 15 to 20 minutes for the assessment. It's just one assessment. So you would come based on your last name on October 2nd during that block of time, and we just rotate kids in, and then you would stay in the car loop. You wouldn't leave and drop them off, because in 15 minutes, they're gonna probably be right back into your car. So this is only for kindergarten. And so we it will be on October 2nd. So if your last name is A to K, you would come between 10:15 and 11. You would pull up in the car loop. One of us would come out. We would take your child, bring them in for testing, bring them back out to you, and then you would leave. And then we have our last group from 11 to 11:45. Again, with that idea, Ms. Beck would be in here in the building testing for Flickers as well, because there's no online option during Flickers testing. And so then, again, that transition to going back to mySchool Online would occur after the lunch and recess time. You will be also receiving an email with more information for this assessment as it gets closer to the testing date. And again, this is required. So this isn't an option that they come, like whether or not you want to send them in. This is the only way that they can take this assessment, is by coming into the building. And that's not our decision, just so you know that. That is what we were told, is that this is the only way they can take it. And again, they would need headphones and their mask. Any other questions that came up in the chat?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen at this point since we're all done. Any last remaining questions from anybody that is still on? Because other than that, that was all we had for you today.
I just wanted to personally say that I know as a family, you've made some sacrifices to be at home, especially with kindergartners who can't read yet and who are don't have the level of school independence on procedures. You've taken on an additional role as being a teacher's aide for us. And we know that that is not easy. We are here for you if you really feel like you want to return to traditional, or if you really think that we could better serve you. We will continue to ask questions and support you, answer your questions and support you any way you can. With that, I know you have to get your kids to school today, and we're going to sign out and say, thank you for coming. We do have one more question. Has a kindergarten parent any modifications for specialist modules? I don't believe there's any modifications to specialist modules at this time. Again, that is a state PE curriculum that we are following.
And the pacing again is set by the district. We thank you.
All right, everybody. We hope you have a wonderful.
And reach out.
Bye-bye. Have a great day, everybody.